Still crying the same tears. From Emmett to Nolan, how many more years? Copper blood in these waters, Most High see us here. Peace be still, but the truth gonna appear. Emmett Till, young boy whistling in the store. White lies turned to lynch and dragged him from the door. Beaten, shot river, swallowed him whole. Open casket, mama showed the world his soul. Nolan Wills, 18, boat ride on the 4th. Only black in the circle, now they say he drowned for. Horn Island whispers, friends came back without him. Mississippi history, still hunting, still doubting. Same state, same pain, different name. Black boy lost in the Delta rain. When will it change? Lord, when will it change? Ancestors screaming, we never left this stage. 1955, Chicago boy down south for the summer breeze. Money, Mississippi, wrong place for a black team to breathe. Brian stole maybe a whistle, maybe just a smile. Jim Crow code broken, now they coming in the night. Wild Roy and Malone snatched him from his uncle's floor. Tortured that baby, fanti round, body in a Tallahatchie roar. Mutilated face, mama said let the world see. Acquitted by all white jury, not guilty, set him free. Sparked the movement, Montgomery rose from the flames. But the Delta dirt still holding black boys' names. Emmett was 14, just a child in his prime, lynched for existing in a twisted mind. Emmett Till, Nolan Wells, Delta shadows ringing bells. Black life keeping these haunted lands. Most High coming with justice in his hands. 2026 July 4th, independence gone wrong. Broke the Horn Island with the crew, singing freedom songs. 18 years young, big heart, only copper in the mix. Friends white as the judge that let killers walking. 55 disappeared that day, body found on the shore 2 nights later. They say drowning, no foul play, but the family know better. Questions swimming deeper than the Gulf water's cold. Why leave your phone? Why the silence from the foe? Mississippi again, history echoing loud. Ben Crump calling for truth, independent, autopsy proud. Was it accident or the past rising from the mud? Black boy with white friends, trust issues in our blood.
Why the same soil claim my sons? Ancestor never left, we still the chosen one.
From Till's open casket to Nolan's unanswered call. In time signs, Leviathan rising, watch the fall. No hate, just black love, we hold each other tight. But stop crashing out on each other and demand what's right.
Peace be still,
Through the storm we prevail,
Father's child.
we shall not fail. Both in Mississippi, Delta's cruel embrace. One lynched open, one body lost without a trace. Emmett's killers brag after the verdict came. Nolan's story fogged in speculation and shame. 14 or 18, young kings taken too soon. Waters claim the bodies, but the spirit touched the moon. Same fear, same doubt, same racist undercurrent flow. But we wiser now, cameras, voices won't let go. Indigenous copper, mountain builder stand tall. We walk together, ancestors answer the call. No more silent nights, no more cover graves. Justice for Emmett, justice for Nolan. Raise the blade.
Emmett Till, Nolan Wells.
Hell no!
Emmett Till, Nolan
But our spirit never failed. We got black love revolution now. Most High know my heart, make it right somehow.
Peace be still,
Peace be still. From Till to West, the story's still real. Let the world see, let the truth be free. Let the world see, let the world see. Let the truth be free.
All right. Hello, everyone. We're back at it. So let's get those likes up. Shout out to all of my loyal royals and everyone tuned into the Queen. And a big shout out to my moderators because y'all know they be putting in work. Okay, let's see who's in here. We got 57 Beige Fox and Buckhorst DC, OG Patrice. Let's get into a 504 Nola. Mr. Hot Shot is here. Says, hey, Queen, 16-year-old teen little girl from Charlotte, North Carolina, was found in a tree on a church property. Yes, I reported on that, beloved. Her name is Juliana Nazita. I reported on her. Yep, that happened around, I want to say April or May. It wasn't that long ago. It was just a few months ago. But I absolutely reported on that story. And there have been a myriad of others. There was just a Black woman found hanging from a tree just a couple of days ago in Mississippi. Okay, so Ebony's here, Mr. Elevation. All right, let's get into it. Aqua Girl Rising. Dangerous is here. Okay, Joycey, I hope I said that right. Okay, Wayno is here. Let's get into it. Simply Sandra. Nirvana is here. All right. Everybody hit that like button. Everybody hit that like button. And let's get ready to get into it. Now, I see CJ the Cat. And CJ the Cat, I'm not sure if you're a troll because I do think that I, in fact, blocked you the other day. Looks like you're back for more. You obviously created another account. See, that's the thing about trolls. I don't forget the trolls when they show up. And the trolls are always easy to spot because they never have their face on their profile picture. They always have like a cat or a dog. And that's a clear sign of MAGA. Okay, that's a clear sign of MAGA. Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, CJ, the cats, I'm going to leave you in here until you start talking crazy because I know you will. You can't help your little self. You just can't help yourself. Hey, Rupert, beloved. All right. So that all been said, hey, Deborah. Okay, let's get it started. Before we do, hey, Ewarel, before we get started, let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Here we go.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. You can also find her products at Walmart.com. And don't forget that she sells beard oil as well. Okay, so let's get into it because first of all, I find it all so interesting. Now, I actually heard this news days ago, but I wasn't sure if it was true because at the time when I looked it up, Google said it had not been verified, but it looks like it is now because it's being reported. Okay, okay, so they have hired Trump's former criminal defense attorney. Now, why would you be hiring a criminal defense attorney? Please pay attention. Now that that evidence has been presented before a grand jury for review, is that what's going on here? Let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. A like and share. Thank you in advance. Nolan Wells' frenemies, they keep calling them friends. I'm going to call them frenemies. They lawyer up with attorney who once repped Trump. So his frenemies have had enough of being accused online over his death, and they're bringing in one of President Trump's heavy hitters to fight back. The Officer Tatum show host Brandon Tatum, Tap Dancing Tatum, I like to call him, reports attorney J. Tyler Cox, who represents 3 of the young men caught up in the case, has enlisted prominent defamation lawyer Edward Andrew Pulsick. Now we already know about him, Pulsick, to defend their names. Now, with that being said, here's the thing I want you all to pay attention to. You know what this is looking like for me? I'm going to go ahead and make a guess, okay? If in fact they do get indicted and get convicted, which I doubt, but even if they do, don't you all know that Trump will absolutely pardon them before he leaves office? Okay, I'm sure Trump has already reached out to every one of their family. Okay, every one of their families. I absolutely believe it. So anyway, Halsey has represented Trump in high-profile legal battles against CBS, Paramount, and the New Times BBC. Now, mind you, attorney J. Tyler Cox, who represents 3 of the young men, now he is, in fact, a criminal defense attorney, and that's him in the photo. He is a criminal defense attorney. Okay, so please pay attention because the defamation lawyer is Edward Andrew Polsik. Okay, so it's important to make the distinction. Actually, hold on, that's the wrong picture. The guy on the thumbnail is the defamation lawyer. But however, the other attorney, J. Tyler Cox, is absolutely a criminal defense attorney. So I wonder what's going on with that. Now, Tatum says the new legal muscle sends an unmistakable warning to anyone continuing to spread what he calls reckless and damaging allegations. He prepared to defend those claims in court. Or he's saying we should be prepared. Ha! Anyone who's reported on this and saying things and accusing them or whatever, be prepared to defend the claims in court. Be prepared to bring about discovery. So as TMZ previously reported, Nolan's friend Bart Edmiston Jr. has already fired off a cease and desist letter to OnlyFans model Kimbra Lee, accusing her of falsely linking him to Nolan's death and an alleged cover-up. Now, the online fury has also spilled into alleged criminal threats. A California man was arrested. Okay, we already know the rest. And like I told you all before, I find it so interesting that they're capturing all of these so-called people out here making threats. But nobody's been arrested for the threats against Nolan's family. Now, if it's so easy for them to catch these people, even though some of them live out of state, but they still caught these people because all they did was track their IP address. Now, my thing is, if these people are making calls and threats and you can track their phones, even when they're using fake numbers, you can track their IP addresses and all of that to go capture them. How come there has been no arrest in the threats against Mrs. Wansley? You know why there's been no arrest, beloveds? Because at the end of the day, the calls coming from inside the house. And by that, I believe that these calls are coming from right there inside law enforcement. Okay, Sheriff Ledbetter, I have several questions. Do you know who's making these threats? Is it the United Dixie White Knights? Yeah, that's exactly who I think it is. Now, mind you, I can't prove it, but I think that's absolutely who it is. Okay, I absolutely think that's who it is. Now, Jonathan says, the bald brother with the beard is suspect, Queen. Don't believe him at all. He does not know the Wells family. Well, beloved, I just talked about him in a previous broadcast that I did a couple of hours ago. So go back and watch that. That's another thing. For those of you who missed the first live this morning, because we were on here early, go back and watch that after this, okay? And at the end of the day, yes, he's lying. Talking about he knew them. He gave Nolan his first haircut and trying to act like there's nothing to see here. We know he's lying. Please. All the nefarious things that have gone on and continue to go on in Mississippi, you just can't hide the truth forever. Now we already know how deeply enrooted the Klan is, not just in Mississippi, but specifically in Ocean Springs. It's already been exposed. Okay, so they can just sit down at this point, as far as I'm concerned. Now, with that being said, let's talk about Warren and all of these nefarious lies. Because this man here picked apart the video that he did with Tatum. Now, remember how we pointed out these lies that Warren was telling and how he was contradicting himself? Well, he actually contradicted himself several times within the first 8 minutes of the video. Let's get into it. Lights up, everyone, please like and share.
Seconds into part 3, Warren said he woke up the morning of the 5th and his dad texted him.
I wake up the next day at about 7:30, and my dad had texted me because obviously Nolan's photo was all over Facebook.
But 20 seconds later, he said his stepdad walked in the room.
Next day, I woke up and my stepdad walked to my room and he said, "Hey, like, have they heard anything about Nolan? Like, what's going on?"
So how did he really wake up? Because 8 minutes and 20 seconds into part 4, he said he woke up that morning to a text from Nolan's mom.
I woke up to a text the next morning that Miss Christina texted me, and she said, "Hey, Nolan's dad's there, is there at my buddy's house to pick up the keys."
So he clearly can't keep up with his lies. But then this what really set me off about the interview. It was 6 minutes and 20 seconds into part 4. He basically called Nolan's mom a liar. Nolan's mom said she had to track his phone using Life 360. But Warren said he told her on the phone that they had Nolan's phone.
I mean, I told Miss Christine that we had his phone and he had left it in our possession on the boat.
When did you? Miss Christine is Nolan's mom.
Correct.
When did you talk to her about that?
When I was on, no, I didn't talk to her once. Like it was like 12:30. I mean, I might have texted her a couple times and like talked briefly about a couple things, but I never. I told her on the phone before I called the Coast Guard that we had Nolan's phone.
So now I'm wondering even more why Nolan's mom has never said whose house his phone was actually at. But if y'all remember, Nolan's mom said his phone and his car was at 2 separate locations.
She received the phone from that parent, and then we met up where his car was, which was at a separate location.
Warren made it seem like Nolan's car and phone was at the same house because he said he was there at his buddy's house where they all stayed the night before when the phone was handed over.
So I went back to my buddy's house that I stayed the night before where we all met up, and stayed together the night before. Nolan's car was at my buddy's house where we stayed at. So of course he left his keys there. But his phone, I mean, he was drinking.
Was there a struggle over it, or did you guys hand it over?
I mean, just handed it over. I mean, we didn't think anything of it. Like, she asked for Nolan's phone. We knew they were close friends with, the Wells family, and my buddy went out to his truck and handed the phone over. No complications, no issue, nothing.
He took forever lying about that part of the story, so I had to edit a few clips together. But that brings me to my last point with these interviews.
White people, y'all can start telling us it's not about race the day that we start finding y'all hanging from trees and your murder is marked a suicide. You can start telling us it's not about race the day that we find your bodies dismembered in the woods after you went on a friendly outing with a group of black friends, or to a sleepover and you are found dead in that person's home and no one knows what happened to you and everyone walks away scot-free. You can start telling us it's not about race when we find your sons wrapped up in mats inside the high school, and when the autopsy is done, the body parts are missing and still no justice is found and the camera footage is missing. When your son goes on a boating trip with friends and comes not back because he's drowned accidentally, but everybody is free walking around doing interviews on MAGA podcasts. And see, the funny thing is that it's not us wanting to just blame white people for this murder, because I need y'all to understand that this is not the first one. Nolan is not the first. There have been multiple this year, this month alone. Have you heard of Kyle Basinga? Have you heard of Torrance Medley? Have you heard about the 16-year-old girl in Charlotte? Or the 27-year-old in Florida? Or Gerard Jackson at the music festival? Or the 11-year-old boy in the care of his white babysitter near Lake Erie, Ohio? Have you heard of any of these? Probably not. Because that is the pattern we recognize. These stories go untold because they are marked down as no foul play. They are marked down as accidental. They are marked down as suicides. And then the world keeps turning. Justice is not served. And these people committing these crimes get to go about their day, walking around like nothing ever happened. This is why we are screaming from the rooftops about Nolan, just as we should be screaming from the rooftops about all of the rest of them. The long list, it goes back decades. But this is the pattern we recognize. This is the system working as it was intended so that we don't receive justice when harm is done to our children, to our mothers, to our brothers, to our sisters, to ourselves. It's not that we want to blame you. It's that you taught us to recognize y'all's pattern of behavior. And it's a pattern that's as old as this country. And y'all are fools if you think we're not going to recognize it. So tell me again how it's not about race when you have a group of MAGA boys going on a MAGA podcast. You have people in official places making personal phone calls and putting out statements to clear their names, centering themselves on the safety of their families in this investigation. No stories corroborating each other, lie after lie after lie. The math is not mathing. Tell us again. Because as we very well know, MAGA is obsessed with race and ensuring that the white race is the only race that gets the forefront, the center, the spotlight, the rights, and the policies in their favor. Don't be mad that we learned to recognize the pattern that y'all continue to show us.
How do we know that Nolan wasn't on that boat? How do we know that Nolan wasn't on that boat? Why is everybody trying to gaslight us to believe that having suspicions is synonymous with making accusations? The lies have been palpable. We did not say they did something to him. We said that's suspicious. He went out with them. Why didn't he come back with them? What happened to him? They weren't searching for him. Now the Cajun Navy has questions, and people who were originally pushing back to the black community, or the human community, what I would describe it as, and they're saying that the boys are saying that they think something happened to him. They just don't know what. We're just not involved. The same way that their instincts led them to believe that something happened to him is the same way that the family's instincts led them to believe that something happened to him. So why is it problematic for the family to question everyone? If something happens between a husband and wife, who's the first person of suspicion, of interest? They're mentioning a girl that they act like they don't know, but they know. They're giving different timelines. They're saying that he wasn't on a boat, but there's no evidence that he was not on a boat. We're talking about 3 boats when there could be 4. The GPS is inconsistent with their testimonies. They're saying that he didn't have his phone because there was no reception. Then we find out that there was reception. It was just spotty, as would be reasonable to expect that it's not going to be very great reception. But every video, you see people in the water with their phones. Why are they saying that girl, this girl, some unknown girl, it's Katie? Evidently, it possibly could have been Bart's ex. Why is the grandfather calling Cito and telling them they don't need help? He wasn't there. How would he know that they didn't need help? Simultaneously, why they're calling, or right before they called? Why do we hear voices in the background? And you're trying to tell us that we didn't hear voices in the background. Like you're trying to tell us that the only thing that's suspicious about this is Ben Crump, Al Sharpton, the black community, the mom, and fucking Jeanette Brantley. And TikTok is acting funny because if you talk about this case, they don't let your videos go through. Judge comes out and says, here's the facts. She wasn't there.
Did not tell you all that? Did not tell you all that? That TikTok is acting real shady about this story. They took down my video last night, and for no good reason. Okay, I showed you all the video. Did I say anything inappropriate? I didn't use any curse words. I didn't say any words that we're not supposed to say. Nothing. And then when they took it down, they didn't even give me a reason. Okay, I appealed it. We'll see how it turns out. But they likely won't put it back up. And that's not the first time. They did that to me a couple of weeks ago as well. There's been a lot of content creators complaining about that. They're trying everything they can do to shield these boys from accountability. That's what it is. They're trying to control the narrative. Okay, please pay attention. And Nirvana, thank you for your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
Do you guys think that our heads screw off and back on? What your job is to do is convince other people in the dominant society that what you're saying makes sense. Because black people do not believe any of this makes sense. From the fact that he was celebrating the 4th of July when that was a partial Independence Day. It was freedom for y'all. Like, that's the first gaslight. Like, you guys are on an all-out campaign to get us to ignore the obvious. You send a body to get a second autopsy because the parents have concerns. There's missing body parts. All these narratives that are coming out of media saying that that's just perfectly normal. Yes, it's perfectly normal if you attach some addendum, some indicator of what you did with those body parts. You notify them, we're not sending these body parts. And here's why. But here's the pictures attached to those body parts. Here are the notes that we took related to those body parts. But just to send a body without the body parts and no notification? So if you're asking yourself, what would you have done during chattel slavery, during the Trail of Tears, during Jim Crow, during every other heinous atrocity in the history since inception of this country? What you would be doing then, you're doing it now.
Not only have I found more evidence of a 4th boat, not only have I found a lie in their timeline, but I have also discovered a deep political connection, not only to a former governor of Mississippi, but to Turning Point USA. So first off, this picture has surfaced in which it's clearly the group of boats a little bit further out in the water altogether. Now here's what is supposedly Bart's boat. We can see the Garmin on top, can confirm this black boat from this other picture. We can see Wyatt's Triton right here, and we can confirm that by the motor. As you can see right here, has that black stripe on the white motor. Now in between the 2 boats is the Palm Beach. You can clearly see it labeled and it's got that stripe, right? As you can see, the stripe is there And yet there's this design right here and no Palm Beach. And you may be like, Jay, that doesn't prove that it's a different boat. Maybe we just can't see it, even though it should be right there according to this picture. But if you look in this video, you can see that there is a black propeller right there. See black propeller, and you can very clearly see the Palm Beach right there on the side. And if you look really carefully in this photo, you can see right there a black propeller. There's another boat on the other side of these three boats. And given the lack of the name on the boat and the black propeller, I'm going to assume the Palm Beach is on the other side, which means there's 4 boats right here. Then I rewatched Warren's interview.
And I woke up at my buddy's house, and we went to McDonald's, got food. No one was not with me. And I went and got breakfast. I had my buddy's boat hooked up to my truck. And, well, first I ran to my house, then I went to McDonald's and came back. And the boat was already hooked up to my truck. My buddy Wyatt and I went, and with my buddies, and we went, filled the top of the boat off, loaded it down with ice, and just got everything ready. Then Wyatt went and put his smaller boat in the water, which is the Palm Beach. He's 18-foot Palm Beach, and I drove the boat from Fort Bayou Boat Launch to my buddy's grandparents' house, and that's where we all planned to meet up that day.
So Wyatt had his buddy's boat already hooked up to the back of his truck. He said he and Wyatt and his other buddy went and got ice and filled up the boats. And Wyatt went and put the Palm Beach, his smaller boat, into the water. And we know that there was a second boat, the Triton, that was driven by Wyatt. Wyatt had 2 boats in the water. Who was driving his other boat?
Nolan was on Wyatt Pyron's 22 Triton. On the way out, I went with my buddy Bart because we had a lot of friends from college coming down, and I called Bart that morning. I was like, hey, man, can you take your boat out? And he was like, yeah, well, my dad's decided not to go, and I'll take the boat, and I'll take you and your friends, of course. I mean, he's a buddy of mine. And so Bart pulled up at the dock, and, I mean, I rode out there with Bart, and a lot of the girls that go to college with my friends and I, and Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. There was like 8 people on the Triton, and then there was 8 or 9 people on the Triton, and then there was the rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people.
Now, wait a minute. So Warren already had a boat hooked up when he woke up that morning. I'm assuming that that had to be the Triton that was hooked up, right? Then he said that Wyatt went and put his smaller boat, the Palm Beach, into the water. Then Warren said that he was the one who drove the Palm Beach to their friend's dock. Assuming that Wyatt drove the Triton to the dock and Bart drove his own boat to that dock, who drove the Palm Beach out to the water then? Because he said that he got a ride in with Bart, even though at one point during the interview he said all of his stuff was on the Palm Beach. So it sounds to me like Warren was the one driving the Palm Beach. I'm also like, what parent would let their kid, who's obviously going off to party, take 2 of their boats and let their drunk friends drive? Like, it isn't making sense to me. I mean, maybe these parents are just shitty parents and irresponsible. Then he also said that he contacted Bart that morning to see if he could come, and Bart was like, yeah, I can give all your friends a ride, blah, blah, blah. According to him, there were 10-ish people, 15 people on that boat. So where were those people originally supposed to ride in on? They'd been planning it for weeks. They were excited about it. Why did Bart have to suddenly step in and take all these people? And remember, Bart said that his dad had canceled going out on the boat that day, so he could do it. Something's not adding up here. I think there was an adult somewhere in this mix. It would also explain how they all thought quickly on their feet with the sea tow. I wouldn't be surprised if an adult didn't come out there and just go off with other adults that were also on Horn Island and let the kids hang out with the boats. Here's where things are going to get interesting, folks. There are more GPS coordinates in the report than what we have seen publicly. I'm going to play you a clip from the interview, but remember, at 5:30 is when they started picking up regular speed, all right? It's right here, 525, speed miles, 30 to 35 knots. So here we go.
Planed off, and you have water in the boat, and you're hauling, we're going pretty fast. We're going probably 40, 42 miles an hour. And so all that excess water that was built up in the boat is coming out of the boat. So, I mean, that's what we had to do. So we ran into Fort Bayou, and we didn't just run straight to my buddy's grandparents' house. We ran into Fort Bayou. A couple of us jumped in the water, and Wyatt, the whole reason for the stop was so Wyatt could hop in and put the plug back in the boat. So then after that, we went and docked it, and I went back to my buddy's house, and we ate and napped for a little bit. It was a long day at the islands.
Now you heard him. He said that they took off going 40 miles an hour and they didn't go to his buddy's grandparents' house, but they went to Fort Bayou to go do a plug thing. Except right here, 5:44, vessel arrives at El Camino Road. 8 minutes later, then it departs from El Camino Road and headed east into Fort Bayou. So right there we have a lie. The boat did stop before going into Fort Bayou. 6 minutes later, it comes back to El Camino Road, and the vessel departed El Camino Road half an hour later, headed southwest to St. Martin Bayou, and then turned southeast into Biloxi Bay Bridge. Then they went back to the Bayou boat launch. Then the boat was taken to Cardinal Lane, which was Wyatt's residence. Now, because I am an absolute genius, I was able to find it. This was where they left and where they came back that day, then came back several times. Now, first off, why aren't we seeing footage of them returning that day? We know that Nolan was with them when they left, so why do they have the security cams from that morning, but not that night? Whose grandparents live there? Jax Patalo, whose family owns a pharmacy. It goes back deeper than that because George Patalo Sr., which is Jax's great-grandfather who is deceased, as it turns out, his great-grandfather was appointed and served on the staff of Mississippi Governor Cliff Finch. As you can see, I've confirmed Jax's relation to him. And as it turns out, Cliff Finch, well, he was in the Mississippi House of Representatives from 1960 to 1964 and supported racial segregation and backed the racist governor, to preserve segregation in the state. The federal grand jury conducted a 3-year-long investigation into his administration and several state agencies, and they were all accused of corruption and mismanagement. Finch was never found guilty himself, but some of his aides and appointees were indicted. And those sort of political connections seem to trickle down through the generations, so now we know why the governor got involved. And I started looking into the lawyer that's handling the defamation case from the Bart family. So from 2015 to 2018, he was state director of Americans for Prosperity. Then in 2018 to 2020, he was vice president of Stand Together while being vice president of Americans for Prosperity. Stand Together is a Charles Koch nonprofit, and Americans for Prosperity is a libertarian conservative political advocacy group affiliated with Charles Koch and David Koch. And if you don't know who the Koch brothers are, they're fucking evil. Guess who's one of the major funders for Turning Point USA? Major donors for the Koch brothers also are primary financial pillars for Turning Point USA, specifically their campus operations. And guess who used to serve as the director of urban engagement?
Okay, so you all heard that, right? All of the lies are coming out. Okay, please pay attention. They're getting caught at every turn. Now, Scoop says, we know they don't play fair. That's why we always question anything when it comes to them. History has told us that. Exactly. Absolutely, beloved. Thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, Rupert says college adult teens on July 4th just watching television at 11 p.m. Sends a girl out to get the phone for Nolan's family, not wanting their prints on it. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense. Okay, and then, what still gets me, and Rupert, thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. And what gets me is the fact that when they were at Ava's house partying the night of, first of all, who's partying after your friend's dead? Because I absolutely believe that they knew at that point that Nolan was dead, because I believe Nolan died in that boat. Okay, please pay attention. But the fact that they were partying at Ava's house and Warren, rather than being down there partying, is upstairs talking to Ava's father. Okay, I find that just a tad bit strange, don't you? Likely sitting there asking for help to get the story together, like I told you all before. Okay, please pay attention. Now, this body language expert talks about Brandon Tatum, tap dancing Tatum. She talks about, hold on, let me just pull this up. Oh, hold on, before I say that, this is what I want to tell you all about TMZ. Let me tell you all something about TMZ. So they're so slick and they're so shady because they're the ones that reported on the attorney. They're the first ones that reported on the fact that the boys hired Trump's attorney, right? His former attorney. But listen to this. This is what they left out. Now pay attention. They said that The Officer Tatum show host Brandon Tatum reports attorney J. Tyler Cox, who represents 3 of the young men caught up in the case, has enlisted prominent defamation lawyer Edward Andrew Paltzik. Now, here's the thing. If he is such a good attorney that he actually worked for Trump, why is it that he hired this other attorney for defamation? Well, here's what TMZ is doing. Pay attention. They're trying to paint a narrative and act as though they just hired this attorney for defamation because they're going to sue everybody who's making these allegations against them, right? That's what they want you to think. But what they don't tell you is, as I told you, hold on, let me just pull this up so you all can see it for yourselves. What they don't tell you is the reason that J. Tyler Cox hired this other attorney. Hold on. And I find it interesting. They don't mention anything about this. They are definitely painting narratives. We need to cancel TMZ. Okay, we need to absolutely cancel them. Now, here's what type of attorney this man actually is. They're sitting there talking about defamation. Why did he hire another attorney? Well, because he doesn't really deal with defamation, okay? Because those are civil lawsuits. And he is a criminal defense and civil family law attorney, okay? But this person he enlisted the aid of specializes in defamation. But they don't bother to tell us that J. Tyler Cox is a criminal defense attorney. Now, how did I know that? How did I know what kind of attorney he was? Because I looked it up. Okay, because I looked it up. Because as soon as they said they hired Trump's former attorney, we know that Trump is a 34 times convicted felon. We know that Trump's all up and through the Epstein files. So any attorney that Trump is hiring, you can best believe it's going to be for a criminal defense. And so that's why I said, wait a minute here. Why are they trying to act as though this is all about defamation? Yeah, they've hired a defense attorney. Okay, please pay attention. That's what they've done. That's what they have done. Now let's continue. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Let's go to this woman who's talking about tap dancing Tatum's body language. And I'm all here for it. Likes up, everyone. Please hit that like button. It doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us stay in the algorithm. Okay, let's get into it.
Received some requests to take a look at Brandon Tatum. The first thing that jumped out is that he had a distant stare in the majority of his photos. This typically indicates someone who tend to be more preoccupied with their thoughts and less present in the moment, which usually leads to more blind spots about themselves as well as others. Usually these develop as a coping mechanism to function in environments and around people that are out of alignment with their authentic self. Next, we have this photo with more of a defiant and daring facial expression and the folded arms. This is usually indicative of someone who is willing to be adversarial, will typically be a more forceful and determined personality type, and is great at standing their ground. And last but not least, when I was establishing the baseline to get a sense of who he was, I noticed a pattern. I only saw photos of him in the glasses when he did Candace Owens' show, Turning Point Events, as well as his biopic for his security company. This can indicate many things, which I'll discuss in an upcoming video. But in his case, when he wears glasses, it feels more performative, like he's looking to portray a certain image. At his core, he seems like a decent person who happens to be highly impressionable with a deep desire for success and acceptance, and is willing to become whoever he needs to be and basically do what he needs to do in order to achieve it. I specialize in human behavior, body language and photos, pattern recognition, and
Okay, isn't that something that sums him right on up? Okay, that literally sums him right on up. Please pay attention. Now let's go to this report about the autopsy. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Oh, never mind. We actually talked about that earlier, if I'm not mistaken. I think I already showed you all that. But I want you all to pay attention. I find it very interesting. Now, do you all remember when I told you all days ago about the guy Murdaugh? Remember, I told you all about Murdaugh. This case reminded me of his case, specifically when Warren's dad, Dr. Benjamin Hudson, came out and offered that reward, okay, the $50,000 reward. And I told you that people very often do that to project, to feign innocence, to make it look as though, they're just here trying to help solve the whole crime. And so you're not looking at them. Now, I'm not saying that's what Dr. Benjamin Hudson did, but I absolutely think that's what he did. That's my opinion. But I told you how it reminded me of Alex Murdaugh, because he actually offered money, okay, after his wife and son were killed. Now he's back in the news. And after we listen to this report, we're going to get into the reason why those lungs were not returned, okay, along with the rest of the body. And there was neither even an explanation telling them, or the new pathologist, why they weren't sending them. Okay, please pay attention.
Days after that stunning reversal of Alec Murdaugh's double murder conviction, South Carolina prosecutors say he could now face the death penalty in his upcoming retrial. Joining me now with the latest on this case that has really captivated the country is ABC's Andrew Dimbert, along with Dave Ehrenberg, the former state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida. Thanks for both of you for being here. But Andrew, I want to start with you because this case has garnered national attention. I mean, it's fascinating. It just seems never ending, all the twists and turns. So let's start with the former county clerk that's at the center of this retrial, because the state Supreme Court says she's the reason Murdaugh didn't get a fair trial the first time around. So what did justices say she did that influenced the jury?
So the justices essentially found that this former county clerk at the time, Becky Hill, improperly inserted herself into the trial, and that she tried to influence jurors here. Justices coming to this decision unanimously and pointing to allegations that Hill made comments directly to the jury about Murdaugh's body language, the credibility of his defense. According to the Supreme Court ruling there, she was signaling to the jury that Murdaugh was guilty before the verdict came down. These are allegations, by the way, that Becky Hill denies. Murdaugh's attorneys, meanwhile, have long said that Hill pushed for this guilty verdict in order to sell a book, by the way, that was pulled over plagiarism accusations. Justices said that her conduct compromised the integrity of the trial, that everyone is entitled to a fair and impartial jury, no matter the evidence. So an important note here, it's not that the state Supreme Court is saying that Murdaugh is innocent or even guilty, just that he wasn't granted that impartial jury that everybody is entitled to. And due to Hill's actions, they say, again, actions that she denies.
Yeah, and Dave, let's bring you in now, because as Andrew just mentioned, that decision does not make Murdaugh a free man. He's still serving a 40-year sentence for federal financial crimes. But when it comes to overturning this murder conviction, how much of a win is this for Murdaugh and his defense team, who maintain that he's innocent?
Rhiannon, good to be with you. Murdaugh was very guilty. The evidence was stacked up against him. So he was as surprised as anyone that he got a new trial. And even though he still professes his innocence, his voice was heard on the recording by his own son, who solved his own murder. It was a recording at the dog kennels at the time of the murder. And so when Murdaugh said, I was not at the dog kennels, I was sleeping and I'm innocent, well, he's a liar and he was there. But he will get a new trial, and the evidence will still stack up against him. I still don't think he'll ever go free.
Do you think that now that the death penalty is on the table, does this make a stronger case for maybe him taking a deal?
He said that he will never take a deal. His lawyers said he'll never take a deal. But I don't think the state is really going to pursue the death penalty to the end, because even though they can, it's not double jeopardy. They did not seek it before. They would still have to explain why it's not vindictive. You can't do it vindictively, like the fact that you lost on appeal. Now you're going to punish him by seeking the death penalty. They got to explain why they didn't seek it before. and yet they're seeking it again here this time. So I don't think it's going to happen this time around.
Okay, and Andrew, back to you. Clearly, prosecutors believe they have a very strong case here. You just heard some of the evidence that Dave mentioned there. What is different this time around? We know they may push for the death penalty.
Yeah, so that's it right there. The stakes are certainly higher now that the prosecution signaled that they may push for the death penalty. So with that in mind, jury selection here is going to be far more intense than the first go around. As you mentioned, this case has had so much publicity. Just think of the Netflix documentary, the scripted version on Hulu, all the podcasts, national news coverage. Now both sides are going to have to essentially navigate a pool of jurors who may already have strong opinions about Murdaugh and this case. For the prosecution, as we heard just there, they're probably going to still rely heavily on the evidence. They believe that they have a strong case here. Otherwise, they wouldn't even consider capital punishment here. And for the defense, they're likely to challenge, the timeline, the forensic evidence, and some of the investigative methods they're in.
Twists and turns.
Well, I certainly can't wait to see how all of that is going to play out. Okay, I can't wait to see how that's going to play out. But hold on, this is what I want to talk to you all about. Let's talk about why they kept Nolan's lungs. Let's talk about why they kept his lungs. We already are trying to figure out why they kept the throat, but let's focus on the lungs, okay? Because here's the fact of the matter. Now, do you all remember Brian Trasher? Okay, the one with the Cajun Navy. You remember how I told you all he was singing one tune at first, and then all of a sudden his tune started to change. All of a sudden, he seemed to be going along with the general narrative that was being painted. Okay, please pay attention. So let's talk about it. See, Brian Trasher, the vice president of the United Cajun Navy, he made comments about the appearance of Nolan Wells' body. Remember that? But he was careful to explain that his observations were from the air while flying approximately 450 feet above or overhead. Now, here's what he said. He said, normally, when a body's been floating, you'll see some bloating and whatnot. Now, he wasn't in the water that long. The temperature was high. His body, he has a low body mass index. And so both of those factors together, normally we would look for a body to pop up on about day 4. Remember I told you all that I thought that was very interesting? When they said they did all that looking, and then just about 48 hours later, there he was floating face down right on the shoreline. And we all agreed that it seemed as though possibly he was placed there. Okay, that made a whole lot of sense. But anyway, he said that you would look for the body to pop up about day 4. But we knew it's possible it could pop up as soon as day 2. But again, the body did not seem at that height to be disproportionate to the way that it should look, possibly. But he said there was absolutely no bloating. The body was not waterlogged. Now, why is that important? Well, do you all also remember that I told you all days ago that there's a part of Horn Island where the water is very rough? And in fact, they liken it to a washing machine. And I told you that it's the equivalent of a dam. Because if you've ever been to a dam or you've ever seen a story about someone getting pulled into one, okay, it's very dangerous. It's literally like a washing machine. If you just could put a person in a huge machine and how it just would be whipping them around and all of that, okay, spinning out of control. There's no way you can swim in it, in other words. But here's the thing. You see, in dynamic maritime environments, such as the washing machine currents, the ones right off of Horn Island, please pay attention, hydraulic forces override buoyancy physics. Now, that being said, that means powerful undercurrents, rough surf, or shifting tides can mechanically sweep a sunken body off of the sea floor and then churn it right back up to the surface. And this can occur even if the body is unbloated. Now, why is that important? Because we already know that a bloated body will rise to the surface because the body starts releasing these gases, right, during the stages of decomposition, even in aquatic decomposition. And I told you all this weeks ago. But with that all being said, that's why you heard it here first. But with that all being said, here's the thing. The person could skip the entire sinking process if, in fact, they were already dead before they entered the water. Okay? Yeah, if they were already dead before they entered the water. You know, perhaps if they died from something like, let's say foul play on a boat, some sort of medical emergency or trauma. And the reason this would be is because the lungs can still be fully inflated. You see, their lungs would never have been filled with water. And the body, in that case, would keep its natural buoyancy. Okay. And so it could float face down. All right. It could float face down first and avoid the entire sinking process. Okay. So please pay attention. And I'm pretty sure that's why they kept the lungs. Okay. That's why they kept the lungs at the end of the day. And I absolutely believe that Nolan was placed there, that they took his body. And we don't know who took it, if anyone even did. But what I'm saying is, I absolutely think that someone took Nolan's body and placed it on that shoreline. Okay? Yeah. And let us not forget that, again, we have now found out about a host of lies that they have told and continue to tell, as far as I'm concerned. Okay? They lied about the data and everything, the coordinates. They said that Warren claims that he's the one who called the Coast Guard. And then we find out that Bart's the one who called. So what's really going on here? Also, all of that talking that we're doing on the boat in the background, well, that's just self-explanatory. And I'm just so curious as to why no one's been arrested, because that's beyond probable cause at this point. Okay? So the cover-up continues, but eventually every dog has their day. And I absolutely hope that whoever had anything to do with the death of Nolan Xavier Wells gets brought to justice one way or another. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Everyone, please like, share, subscribe, and all of that. And I will see you all on the next broadcast, because guess what? I will be coming back. I'm working hard today. And listen, because I got time. But don't forget, we're going to be talking about Tap Dancing Tatum, because I have figured out his whole little gig. I know exactly what his play is, and we're going to talk about it, okay? And so everyone, please like and share. All right, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And Lisa says, Queen, keep up the great work. I love you, Queen. And I love you too, beloved. I love all of my loyal royals. All right, so cut on your notifications, and I'll see you all again soon. Peace.
Oh, yeah, I'm on your ass. I just got to know. What up with that audio? Well, we not gonna stop. No, no, we won't go. I'm hugging your parents in spirit. Yeah. We on this case and we demand answers. Oh, they expose. Queen of receipts, dropping. Oh, and we got your back. Somebody gonna talk. Hell yeah, the ancestors walking. I'm so serious. Queen on the case. Oh, they asking full-blown panic now. They trying to shut us down, close our mouth. But I just won't. Damn that. Well, we not gonna stop. No. Hugging your parents in spirit, yeah. We on this case and we demand answers. Oh, they expose. What happened to you? We tired. You don't get the all my kids ain't cover it up. I said, show yourself, yeah. Steady talking about they was his friends. I said, show up and talk if that's the case. Hold on, Nolan, it's coming to the light. Yeah, the queen on the case. Hold on, Nolan, we won't give up. Rest in his peace. We all love you. No. Nolan. Well, we not gonna stop. No. We won't go. I'm hugging your parents in spirit. We on this case. Oh, they expose the real queen of receipts, dropping.